Hello everyone. I am Ian Dichosa from the Peer-to-Peer Society, and I am here to talk to you about user-defined functions. So, what are the advantages of user-defined functions? The main advantage of user-defined functions is something known as code reusability. Basically, imagine yourself doing something repetitively again and again. Ano nga ba ang mga activities na ginagawa natin every day na paulit-ulit? Let's say study, let's say jogging, walking. Ano pa ba? Let's say turning on the TV and watching, and turning on the laptop and doing assignments. Those things are very repetitive. We're doing it every day. Sometimes may modification, sometimes may hindi. And user-defined functions allows us to express those repetitive functions, those repetitive activities into code that we can use multiple times, again and again, without fully typing the sequence, the method that we want to do. As you see here, repetitive tasks can be performed efficiently, and complex tasks can be performed repetitively. For example, what if may sobrang haba kang formula na kailangan mo sa math or something, and you want to do it one time, you want to do it 1,000 times, let's say, then it doesn't make sense for you to write that same formula over and over again. It's much better to make a user-defined function of that formula and just declare and just call that function instead. So you can see here, for example, it's fitness watches. You don't want every time someone takes a step that you would program an application, naka-copy paste mo lang yung step counter per se. It's much better to have one function that does all the step counting for you. In stock analysis, as we said earlier, if you have a big amount of data and you want to do some sort of formula to it, you wouldn't want to copy and paste the formula over and over again. In game development, many repetitive things such as losing health. How does the player lose health? They lose health when fighting, when, let's say, falling from a certain amount of height. You don't want to copy and paste the formula for losing health over and over again. Just want to player to lose health, and that can be put away in some sort of function. So we're familiar na naman with predefined functions. And from predefined functions, makikita natin yung structure as to how we can construct user-defined functions. For example, ito, yung int main natin. Makikita natin dito the the 5 parts of a function, the 5 basic parts. First is the return type, the parameters, the function name, the return value, and the behavior. Okay? So return types, it can either be double, float, or int, or char, basically all of the different data types. So meaning that once the function is done, once it's executed, it will give out a return value, some kind of value after everything is done. Sabihin natin, let's say you're working on a formula. You can do the formula and it would give out an integer giving the answer for the formula. Or it can do nothing, it can return nothing. So for example, may gusto ko lang i-print. You just want it to print something and it would give out no return value. Then you would use the void return type. Parameters naman. Parameters is the one that we've seen here inside the parentheses. These are the inputs that will be used by the function. So it can either have 0 or many parameters, each with different data types. Finally, the function name, it describes what the function's purpose is. It is the unique identifier of that function. Yung name convention natin, it's camel case name convention. So yung first word, small case, second word, uppercase. And when we construct functions, it's usually verb, tapos noun, like do this, give that, etc., etc. So I have some exercises here that we can work on. And I will share my screen and we will try it out. We will try to code it inside C. I encourage you to follow along as we code these exercises. So if you followed along in our presentation, the first exercise, the first program that I will perform is a program that will uh, print boxes, 4x4 box. And we need actually not a program, but a function of that. So first, let's remember anong mga data types na available sa atin. We have char, int, float, double, void, etc. So this function, it will only print boxes. So it doesn't make sense for us to give out a data type. May action lang siyang ginagawa. It will not give out any output. So I will put void. Next, name of the function. Just keep it simple. Let's just say print box. And inputs. Do we need any inputs? Not necessarily kasi nandito na naman yung requirements natin. It doesn't really require for us to take in any inputs pala. So let's just print the box, and I'll just use printf to do so. Say, 4x4 na. 4x4 box. Copy. Probably para mas maganda, halo lang natin. Kulang pa yung -n. And just like that, we can actually call the print box function here, print box. And then now we can actually try to compile this in C. Boxes.exe. So now it's compiled. Let's run boxes.exe. And there we go. We are now seeing that it is printing out a box. Now, of course, valid naman na gawin na lang natin to, right? It will still print one box, right? It still prints one box. But what if, let's say, for some reason, I wanted to print a lot of boxes? Let's say ganyan. Now, it still would work, but look at it. It's so messy. It's really hard to read. So instead of doing that, I could just run the print box function lang multiple times. And look at that. It's a lot easier to read. It's much more compact. Forgot. I will compile this. And as you can see, it would run the same outputs. However, compared sa kanina, na sobrang haba yung piniprint natin, ito lang yung print natin. Let's try another kind of function. Let's say I would want to create a function wherein it will it will compute for the circumference of a circle given its radius. Try natin yun. Compute for circumference given radius. So first, let's think of the data types that are available to us, diba? Float, char, int, double. Since we are talking about circumference, I think it's better for us to choose either float or double. Since, diba, if you think about pi, that's 3.14, so we are dealing with decimal points. So for me, I would just use float. For the function name, I would say, let's say, compute circumference. And for the parameters, if we read here, it is asking us, it is inputting a radius. So it requires a radius as a parameter. So let's say float radius. Para matupad lang sa naming convention, f radius. Okay. Yeah. Now, how do we compute again for the circumference? If you would remember the formula, it is 2 times 3.14 or pi times the radius. So I would say return 2 times 3.1415 times f radius. Pwede ganito. Or if you think this is a lot cleaner to read, you can also do float f circumference. You would declare a variable and compute it there. Then you would return the variable itself. That's also valid. Yeah, depende lang naman. Personally, for me, I would skip the variable assignment na kasi medyo nagtitake up pa siya ng space. Kaya lang, it's all on you, honestly. So I would say, try natin mag-user input naman. Let's say printf, please input the radius. Tapos frad scanf at frad, and finally the circumference of a circle with radius at point 2f is at point 2f, and we put here our frad and pwede compute circumference agad with at frad. So as you can see here, we are calling the function inside, and yung output nitong function, gagamitin niya dito as input. Pwede na namang, we can also do this. We can just separate it as is here. And we can just print out the value. So let's try to run this function. Rename ko lang yung file. Sample to circles. So let's do gcc -w sample2 that circles.exe. Circles.exe. It says it's asking for us to input the radius, say 2. Now it says here circumference of a circle with a radius 2 is 12.57, which is right naman, no? And that's it for the time we have today. I encourage you all to try out all of the other functions here. Especially the last one. I believe that it is a great challenge for all of us. A bunch of these just apply the structure that I've shown you. If we are computing, if the function has return value, be sure to return a data type, a variable of the same data return type specified. And if we are inputting an input into the function, make sure that you are also inputting the same data type that is specified inside the function. Thank you for listening, and I hope Thank you for listening, and I hope that you do well in your exams. Thank you.